And soon, Pippa became the paparazzi's biggest prize.
There is, a lot of pressure I get in London, just my day-to-day routine, followed by paparazzi.
Pippa Middleton has always kept her personal life private, especially when it comes to her marriage to James Matthews. But now she's breaking her silence, and what she just revealed has fans seriously worried. After years of showing off the perfect relationship, Pippa has hinted that things might be falling apart behind the scenes. Sources close to the couple say this isn't just a rough patch. Her marriage may be hanging by a thread. So, what's really going on behind closed doors? And is this the beginning of the end for one of Britain's most private power couples? Buckle up, because this story is more tense than anyone expected. The beginning of a love story. If royal life has taught us anything, it's that the closer you stand to the crown, the heavier the price. And for Pippa Middleton, that weight has often played out in the public eye. Before marrying hedge fund millionaire James Matthews, Pippa Middleton had several high-profile relationships. Among them were George Percy, heir to the Duke of Northumberland, Alexander Spencer Churchill, a distant relative of Winston Churchill, and Nico Jackson, a stockbroker she dated for nearly 3 years. But one relationship that stood out was with Alex Loudon, a former England cricketer from aristocratic roots. So, stay with us, because what we are about to reveal will shock you. In 2011, while the world watched Kate Middleton step into royal life as the Duchess of Cambridge, her sister Pippa was quietly nursing a broken heart. Just weeks before Kate's first Christmas with the royal family, Pippa's relationship with Loudon came to an end. On paper, they were the perfect match, but in reality, the relentless spotlight proved too much. Sources close to the couple revealed that Alex couldn't handle the media frenzy that came after Pippa's star-making turn as maid of honor at the royal wedding. But it didn't stop with Alex. Pippa's closeness to the crown continued to cast a long shadow over her romantic life. The pattern repeated itself. Pippa's relationship with Nico Jackson reportedly ended because of the weight that came from public scrutiny and the strain of long-distance relationships. Over time, it seemed that every partner had to contend not just with Pippa's fame, but with the ever-increasing presence of the monarchy itself. And this was a tough battle to fight. However, that pattern kept repeating until Pippa met James Matthews in 2012. He was different from the others. Wealthy, well-connected, but calm and private. James had built a successful career in finance and came from a respected family. He seemed comfortable with the attention that came with being close to the royal spotlight, but he never chased it. With him, Pippa finally found some peace from all the pressure. They had met years earlier through friends, but nothing serious came of it at the time. James is the older brother of Spencer Matthews, known from British reality TV, and he runs a hedge fund named after his family's luxury hotel in St. Barths. He and Pippa were friends, so their paths often crossed. In 2012, Pippa and James started dating quietly. It was a low-key relationship, very different from the public attention Pippa's past boyfriends had drawn. But things didn't work out right away. They broke up in 2013 and went their separate ways. Pippa traveled, stayed busy with work and family, and James focused on his business. But in 2015, they got back together. This time, it felt more serious. They were often seen together at events like Wimbledon and charity functions, but they never tried to steal the spotlight. Their relationship looked steady and respectful, based on shared values, not just appearances. In July 2016, James proposed to Pippa during a trip to the Lake District. The engagement was understated yet thoughtful. The ring, a classic diamond design, reflected the care and consideration behind the gesture. James and Pippa were married in May 2017 in a beautiful countryside ceremony. While the event carried the charm of a royal wedding, with Prince George and Princess Charlotte included in the bridal party, it remained intimate and family-focused. Following their wedding, the couple moved to a stunning mansion in Chelsea, one of London's most exclusive and expensive neighborhoods. Valued at approximately 17 million euros, their home featured luxurious amenities such as a gym, a private cinema, and staff accommodations. Despite the opulence, they chose to lead a quiet, private life, avoiding the spotlight and celebrity culture in favor of creating a peaceful and welcoming home. In October 2018, Pippa gave birth to their first child, a son named Arthur. During her pregnancy, she spoke openly about her health and fitness routine in magazines, emphasizing the importance of staying active and maintaining a healthy lifestyle, something she had always enjoyed. Motherhood brought her immense joy, which she described as the best thing that ever happened to her. Pippa and James welcomed 2 more children, daughters, in 2021 and 2022. Unlike with Arthur, they opted to keep these births and early moments more private, choosing to shield their children from public scrutiny. And in the midst of building their family life, one thing has remained constant: Pippa's deep dedication to motherhood. A quiet and loving presence, she has embraced parenthood with warmth and focus, creating a peaceful home where her children can grow away from the public eye. But now, in 2025, things seem to be changing. Rumors about a possible divorce and growing tension are spreading everywhere. So what's really happening? Let's find out. Tension in Pippa Middleton marriage. At first, everything seemed just right. Pippa Middleton and James Matthews looked like the perfect couple. Whether they were attending glamorous events, walking into royal weddings, or simply photographed together in London, they always smiled, always stood close, always looked in sync. People admired them, not just for their style or their background, but for the quiet elegance of their relationship. They didn't seek the spotlight, but when it came, they handled it with ease. But behind the beautiful photos and graceful appearances, life began to change. The truth is, marriage, especially one constantly watched by the public, comes with pressure. As time passed, their life together didn't look as easy as it once did. Being in love wasn't enough to keep everything together, especially when their lives were pulling them in different directions. Pippa kept showing up to events with a smile, looking polished and put together. But something was different. She seemed more tired. The light that once made her glow seemed dimmer. The joy in her eyes, once so bright, began to fade. And while James was still present in her life, he started showing up less and less. At first, no one thought much of it. Maybe he was working. Maybe he was traveling. But then it became a pattern. He missed Wimbledon, an event they once attended together every year. He wasn't seen at the Boodles boxing ball, a night they both used to enjoy. Even close family gatherings like Carol Middleton's birthday saw Pippa attending alone. Slowly, the questions began. Why wasn't James by her side? Why did Pippa look so serious, so guarded? Then came the birth of their third child. When Pippa stepped out for the first time after giving birth, James was nowhere to be seen. For many, it was a turning point. People started asking if something was wrong at home. And while Pippa continued to stay silent, the pictures told their own story. One of a woman trying hard to keep up appearances while something inside was quietly falling apart. People close to the couple say things began to shift long before the public noticed. James had become deeply focused on his hedge fund and the charitable foundation created in memory of his late brother. He was always working, always busy, often away. His priorities started to change, and not in a way that brought him closer to home. Pippa, on the other hand, wanted something simpler. She never craved constant attention. She dreamed of raising her children in peace, surrounded by close friends and family. But instead of a calm, grounded life, she found herself caught between media pressure, family expectations, and a husband who was becoming more distant. Their visions for the future no longer matched. They were still in the same house, still sharing the same space, but they were no longer sharing the same world. When they did appear side by side, their smiles looked stiff. The warmth that once came so naturally now felt forced. The easy connection that used to shine between them had faded. Even in interviews, Pippa seemed different. She was always polite and gracious, but her charm felt quieter, less natural. She looked like someone trying to stay strong, trying to protect something, even as it slipped away. Her once famous sparkle had softened into something more cautious, more careful. Friends began to talk. They said things weren't the same, that the couple barely spent time together. Those holidays were missed. Those conversations became short, even cold. The emotional bond, once so strong, was no longer there. And yet, through it all, Pippa stayed silent. She never complained or told her side of the story, but her silence began to speak for her. The first thing people noticed was that Pippa Middleton had stopped wearing her wedding ring. Suddenly, whispers of divorce didn't feel like just rumors, they felt real. Those close to the couple now say it's only a matter of time. And though neither Pippa nor James has made an official statement, their silence speaks louder than words ever could. For Pippa, this is more than just the end of a relationship. It's the end of a chapter she had once believed would last forever. She once said that James made her feel cherished, grounded, and safe, and that she could truly be herself around him. But somewhere along the way, that comfort disappeared. The man who had once been her support had become distant. Her anchor was no longer there to steady her. And yet she's facing it all with quiet strength. She's not trying to prove anything. She's not asking for sympathy. She's simply moving forward, even while carrying the weight of a story that didn't turn out the way it was supposed to. What was once a fairy tale now feels like a quiet goodbye. But in her silence, in her calm presence, in the way she holds herself, Pippa is showing what strength really looks like. Even when everything changes, she remains graceful. Even when love fades, she holds her head high. But now, the question on everyone's mind is this: what caused the tension in a marriage that once seemed so perfect? Stay with us, because the truth might just surprise you. Family trouble behind closed doors. When news of tension in Pippa and James's marriage broke out, people began to speculate, and those speculations led to rumors. Maybe it was a matter of infidelity or negligence, but none of that was the reason. In fact, it will surprise you to know that the real signs of trouble didn't come from the press. They came from her family life. From the start, Pippa had hoped marriage would give her a sense of peace, a home, a new family. But that dream didn't go the way she hoped. The Matthews family, while wealthy and well-known, were extremely private. They didn't like attention, they didn't like headlines, and they definitely didn't like being pulled into the spotlight by Pippa's growing public life. At first, the tension was small, quiet comments, a few cold looks at family dinners. But over time, it became clear that there was a deeper clash. Pippa loved events, cameras, and interviews. James's family did not. One person who seemed especially distant was Vogue Williams, Pippa's sister-in-law. Her comments in interviews sometimes came with a sharp edge, jokes that didn't feel like jokes, smiles that didn't quite reach the eyes. Nothing explosive, but enough to make Pippa feel out of place, and many believe her actions are related to the fact that she was not allowed to attend her brother's wedding. But it did not end there. Whispers in royal circles said the Matthews family thought Pippa was pushing too hard for attention, that she was chasing fame in a family that valued privacy above everything: her books, her appearances, even her efforts to stand out as more than Kate's sister. Some saw it as trying too hard. To them, she wasn't just James's wife, she was a problem. Someone who didn't quite fit into the life they had carefully built away from the public eye. And so, the gap grew, not just between Pippa and James, but between Pippa and the family she had tried so hard to be part of. Every event brought new tension. Every smile covered up a colder truth. The acceptance she wanted so badly never came, and the pressure of trying to belong wore her down, little by little. But this is where things start to get interesting. Just when it seemed everything was falling apart, Pippa made one last attempt to hold it all together. The pressure, the rumors, the growing silence between her and James, it all pointed toward a slow ending. But she wasn't ready to give up. Not yet. Pippa had always believed in fighting for the things she loved. Marriage was never supposed to be perfect. She knew that. But deep inside, she hoped that even if the love had faded, there was still enough left to save. So when the rumors of a possible separation started making headlines, Pippa and James did what many couples do in times of trouble. They tried to remember what had once brought them together. For them, it wasn't just about appearances or status. Long before the cameras and expectations, they had connected over something real, a shared belief in giving back. That's where they turned their focus. The couple began to appear together again, not at flashy red carpets or society galas, but at charity events and community fundraisers. They teamed up to support causes like the Michael Matthews Foundation, named after James's late brother, and the Mary Hare School, which helps deaf children. To many, it looked like a fresh start. Their smiles at these events were warm, their teamwork smooth and natural. People who saw them together began to wonder if maybe, just maybe, they were finding their way back to each other. For a while, the harsh headlines softened. Some believed that the couple had made it through the storm. Behind the scenes, however, it wasn't that simple. Yes, they were spending more time together. Yes, there were shared goals. But many of their moments felt planned, like carefully rehearsed scenes rather than genuine connection. Their eyes didn't meet the way they used to. Their laughter felt lighter, as if it was being forced. These weren't angry fights or loud breakups. It was quieter than that. It was a growing space between them, a silence that neither of them seemed able to fill. Pippa and James tried everything they could. They attended private family events together. They posed side by side for photographs. Sometimes they were even seen sharing private jokes or exchanging glances that reminded the public of their early romance. But those glimpses were just that. Glimpses. Fleeting. Temporary. Moments that came and went too quickly. Friends close to the couple could see the truth. They said it wasn't about betrayal or big fights. There was no scandal, no major mistake. It was just that the connection had slowly faded. The love that once burned so brightly had cooled into something more like friendship, or perhaps just duty. They were still a team, still respectful, but the magic was missing. For Pippa, who had once been full of energy and light, this was especially hard. She had worked so hard to build a life outside her sister's shadow, to create her own happiness, her own family. But now it seemed that even with all the effort, the dream was slipping away. No matter how many charity events Pippa attended, or how many times she smiled for the cameras, she couldn't change what was happening behind closed doors. And for James, who had always preferred privacy and quiet, the push back into the spotlight may have felt like too much. He supported her, yes. He showed up. But people close to him noticed he was pulling back again, becoming more distant, more focused on work, and less involved in the life they were trying to rebuild. So in the end, it all seems to trace back to Pippa's ties to royalty, ties that still haunt her marriage today. And now, with everything pointing toward the end, The question is, what's next for Pippa? What will happen if she leaves her marriage? Curious to find out, stay tuned. What's next for Pippa? After everything Pippa had been through, years of scrutiny, pressure from royal connections, and now what looks like the quiet crumbling of her marriage, the world can't help but wonder, what's next for Pippa Middleton? The truth is that she's standing at a crossroads, and whichever direction she takes, it will define the next chapter of her life. Insiders say Pippa has already started making moves, quiet, calculated ones. She's been spending more time at her family's Bucklebury estate, away from the eyes of London society. There, surrounded by her parents, Carol and Michael, and close to her sister Kate, she's reportedly finding the space to think, to breathe, and to plan. It's no secret that Pippa has always drawn strength from her family. Now, more than ever, that support system seems to be her anchor. But don't mistake her retreat for weakness. If anything, it's the calm before her next rise. Pippa has always been strategic. From launching her party planning book, Celebrate, to building a career in health and wellness journalism, she's never been content with just being Kate's sister. She's carved her own path, and she may be about to do it again. According to sources close to the Middleton camp, Pippa has been quietly exploring new projects, possibly a return to publishing, or even launching a wellness brand of her own. With the rise of social media influencers in the lifestyle space, a curated, elegant brand from someone like Pippa, who embodies both tradition and modern health trends, could be a major success. Think about something like the famous Gwyneth Paltrow's Goop, but with a more understated British twist. After all, Pippa has been writing health columns for outlets like Waitrose Weekend and The Spectator for years. The foundation is already there. But beyond business, there's something deeper happening. Friends say Pippa is beginning to rediscover who she is, not as a wife or a sister-in-law to the future queen, but as a woman in her own right. And that rediscovery might mean stepping back even further from the royal-adjacent lifestyle that once defined her. If the royal spotlight helped fracture her marriage, she may now be choosing peace over prestige. One friend said that Pippa Middleton wants her kids to grow up with stability, not flashbulbs, not headlines. Of course, there are whispers about a possible relocation, perhaps abroad. James owns property in St. Bart's, and some speculate that if they do separate, Pippa might either reclaim her own space in the UK or consider a life overseas where the press is quieter and the expectations are lower. Whether that's the English countryside or the Caribbean is still unknown. But one thing is clear: she's preparing for change. Then there's the question everyone is quietly asking: will she speak out? So far, Pippa has remained classically silent, as expected from someone with ties to the royal family. But this new chapter may bring a change in that approach. Perhaps not a tell-all, but a carefully crafted feature in Tatler, Vogue, or even The Times, something on her own terms, her own words. The world may finally hear from Pippa Middleton not just as a sister, not as a socialite, but as a woman who has lived through high society's most punishing glare and come out stronger. Whatever happens next, one thing is certain: this isn't the end of Pippa's story. It's a reinvention, a shedding of the past. And if there's one thing she's proven time and time again, it's this: Pippa Middleton doesn't just survive under pressure, she transforms. So, do you think there is a slim chance that the couple eventually gets a divorce? Or is this just another media frenzy? Let's hear your thoughts in the comments section. Remember to like, share, and subscribe for more. Also, click the next video showing on your screen. You will enjoy.